what do I think about the people who don't speak up, especially when it comes to influencers and content creators. I actually don't think that it's only their platform that they have to give. There are some people who are called to speak up, but there are some people who would rather serve in quiet, which I think is great too. And that is still them using their platform. We can all contribute to Philippine development. It doesn't have to be through speaking up. They could be helping more efficiently in other ways as well. Hey, Janina Vela here. Welcome back to the Soul Podcast. This is part two, episode two, the second episode on this podcast. Last episode, I talked about my journey being a beauty and lifestyle content creator and also somebody who's super inspired and passionate about politics. And now we're going to continue that conversation. So if it's not obvious already, I love the Filipino people. And one thing that I super admire and also struggle with is that part of being a Filipino is kind of living in tension. In tension. Or in tension? No, in space tension. Because part of it is you are ranked one of the happiest countries in the world, and at the same time you are ranked as one of the countries who are not really you just see so much political unrest at the same time. So you're like, oh, you're happy, but there's political unrest. Oh, they're super hospitable, but blank. But then there are so many unhoused people, which is such an irony as well. You have a country who loves each other. Like, we love our people so much. Like, we are so familial. We love our lolas and lolas. We love titos and titas and all of our kamag-anak in the whole world. Kapitbahay na nga eh. And then you see so much hate on social media. And then you see so much tension on social media. I don't know. It's so interesting to be a Filipino in this time. But I'm standing by what I said, that it's one of the things that I love about being a Filipino, is because for some reason, going back to what I said, even if there are so many unhoused, we're still the most hospitable people. There are so many Filipinos who don't have much. You will never cease to find somebody who will give everything that they have to their job, to their family, to their friends. Even if they have so many complaints about everything, the transportation system, the government, whatever that may be. We are such a grateful people. We're so thankful for whatever comes our way. Ayuda pa lang, so thankful and grateful already. Like, literally, a can of corned beef, happiest person in the world. I love that about the Philippines. And that's one of the things that makes me so in love with our nation, actually. Like, how can those two things coexist at the same time? But when you talk to, your average regular Filipino, they'll say, oh, well, mahirap. It's hard to get a job nowadays. Income, blah, blah, blah. Pero yung anak ko, nakapasa ng whatever. But alam mo ba, magagraduate na. Like, you just talk to your average Grab driver. You just talk to the jeepney drivers. Like, I am a chronic oversharer to service workers, and I absolutely love it because they end up oversharing to me, and it's my favorite thing in the whole world. You just see how grateful these people are. And it teaches me so much. It shows me that I'm so selfish, and I'm so entitled, and I'm so privileged because these people are so happy with the things that I complain about. And it's so humbling. There is so much hope and heartache, both in everything I just said, actually. There's so much hope because, well, our last elections, a lot of people can complain and say, sayang naman, blah, 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 ito, give lists. I'm proud. I said, wow, this is progress. 10 years ago, I don't think our ancestors, 10 years, ancestors, the previous generations, I don't think they would ever think that we'd get here. Slowly, Filipinos are waking up. Slowly, it's becoming a normal thing to talk about politics on the dinner table, and it's not a super dense subject, It's normal to know about what's going on in the world. It's normal to repost a typhoon, a new legislation, and it's so beautiful to see. Because again, it's not special to a person. Like, it doesn't take a special person to care. You just have to care. and everybody cares about something. So it gives me so much hope to see that this is becoming a normal thing in people's lives, that we are looking outside our window and we are fighting for things that maybe don't even affect us. The issue about the bike lanes and biker protection, or bicyclist protection rather. There are people who I know don't even know how to bike. And I love that they're posting all of these stuff, because as a bicyclist, I'm like, wow, thank you. Like, this doesn't affect you, but it sure affects me, and it makes me so happy that you care. And that is just like a tiny example, right, of everything that everybody has been saying. But like, you want to be able to put, I guess, if you're somebody with a platform, if you're somebody with any form of privilege, you want to be able to give leverage to people who can't create that for themselves. I hope that doesn't sound like I'm like putting down a certain group of people or anything, but it's more of a call to action. If you have a roof above your head, if you have aircon and you have food every day, you're privileged. Like, I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but we're privileged to have those things. If you are comfortable, it's time to get uncomfortable. And you don't even have to change the way that you live, you just have to change the way that you think. And maybe even change the way that you post. I don't know. For me, this is my personal opinion. There's nothing better to do with your privilege than to use it for the underprivileged. What do I think about the people who don't speak up, especially when it comes to influencers and content creators? Especially because I am an influencer content creator who, does speak up sometimes. I'm gonna give an answer that I don't think a lot of people will like or love. If we're talking about privilege, and you think about the influencers' privilege, I actually don't think that it's only their platform that they have to give, because there are some people who are called to speak up. There are some people who are eloquent and who have um that that capacity to be able to research properly. But there are some people who would rather serve in quiet. There are some people who would rather use their privilege to donate or to fund or to support, which I think is great too. And that is still them using their platform. But I don't know, I don't want to ever force my calling over onto somebody else, because I think we need all kinds of people in society that make society better. Because imagine if everybody became influencers and everybody spoke up, nobody will put action into what we're speaking up about. There are some people who will just be called to do different things. There are some people who will inspire. Like, how can we make the Philippines better if everybody's depressed? And so there are influencers who help with that. How can we make a better generation or a better future if we're financially illiterate as a country? There are influencers who help with that as well. So we can all, is what I'm trying to say, we can all contribute to Philippine development. It doesn't have to be through speaking up. My passion is just that we do something. Is that there is something that is being done. Whether in quiet, if I will never see it, that's fine with me. I think there are things that I do that you will never see, and that is fine. I don't have to prove it to you that I'm a good Filipino. But I don't know. I don't think we should judge somebody's love for the country or love for the Filipino people based on what they post or not. It would be nice, but they could be helping more efficiently in other ways as well. If they're not passionate about it, I don't want them to perform. If this is not really coming from their heart and they feel like they need to post because people are angry at them and they should do it, I think that's worse. Like, madadali pa sila. Madadali pa yung ibang tao kasi misinformation, or it was wrong wording, or they shouldn't have said that. I just hope that everybody finds their own calling in the realm of somehow Philippine development. Again, if that's financial literacy, if that's mental health, if that's specifically speaking up, if that's even teaching in public schools, like it doesn't have to be the one thing, is what I'm trying to say. We can, oh, this is going to be so cliche bigla. Like, we can change the world if we all focus on our corner of it, is what I'm trying to say. If we're all doing the same thing, nothing will change. Like, okay, then we did the one thing. But that's not what we need. We need all of the things at once. And that's what's so beautiful, because I think everybody has something that they can bring to the table that nobody else can bring. I think influencers should definitely speak up, but I think you should speak up too. And I'm not even saying this on social media. I'm not telling um the private person to start a social media. I'm telling the private person to talk to their family and to talk to their siblings and to talk to their friends, because if I am being honest, you are much more effective to them than I will ever be. Your kapitbahay will never even see my video. Truthfully, and I know that. I'm realistic. But they see you and they hear you and they believe you. Who is Janina Vela even? Like, your Lola does not care about what I have to say about the Philippine government, but she cares what you have to say about it. And she'll probably never even remember the reel that she passed by, on her FYP. If she has TikTok, I don't know. She doesn't even have TikTok. See, all the more. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't want to go into the whole like you are your own influencer thing, but you do have your own sphere of influence. I think my perfect world is everybody somehow will take that sphere of influence and use it with so much intentionality as much as you want your influencer to speak up. I hope that you come out knowing how effective you are. Much more effective than me, actually. We need to do things differently. Um, Again, you're seeing now a lot of people are waking up, getting woke. I hate that term. Um, we're talking to people about it. We're changing. We're tipping the scales a little. I think we need to think out of the box. I think we need to think beyond ourselves. Here's the thing about self love is that it's not supposed to stop there. I love self love. Good pamper day, and I love journaling and a little matcha and healing. Trust me, I love a good walk with good music and a good podcast and therapy. All for all of those things. But self love doesn't stop at you. It shouldn't. It doesn't stop at me. It shouldn't. Where I try to fill my cup because I know that I want to pour it out. And then I'll fill my cup again. And then I'll pour it out again. There was one thing that I would like to gently say to our generation. I hope it doesn't stop with you. I don't want to be a boomer and say that we're so selfish, right? But I think I have seen, and I can say because I am one of us, that we have a tendency to be a little focused on ourselves, which is fine. We're going through a lot of things. But one thing that I've realized is that we'll never stop going through things. There will always be things to go through, but there will always be things to fight for as well. And there will always be a Philippines to develop. So I think one thing that we can do is first self love. We can park it there for a bit, but know that that ship has to sail eventually. But practically, go to school. Practically, I'm serious. Do well in school so you can find a job and do well at that job. And then sponsor a child in World Vision, 900 pesos a month. And then do those jobs righteously. Do them without bribes. Do them excellently. Be kind to your neighbor. Get to know your office mate and be generous to them. These are things that I think people overlook. I want to change the world. And then you're mean to your office mate. What? No. As an influencer who has spoken on so many different stages, that is why I am speaking like this. Because the grassroots level, again, is just so much more potent for change. So being able to get educated and I don't know, do the thing is what I'm trying to say. Like, we don't have to overcomplicate making the Philippines better. Do the thing and do it well is what I'm trying to say. So if you're in engineering, like, you can also find ways naman to make the Philippines better in that way, right? Go to school, do it well, graduate, get a job, change the world in your job. It doesn't have to be president. You can be an engineer and you can change the world. Well, I understand when people are doom scrolling. It's really so depressing. I think seeing video after video of things that you did not want to see at 8 a.m. in the morning, um, it can really upset a lot of people. And in the first episode that I was here, we talked about how I'm my general position, I think, is an optimist, very hopeful. And definitely pandemic that shifted. And that changed a bit because there was not much hope to be had at that point in time. It was a little bit hard to be optimistic. When you think about the children in Gaza, you realize that these kids can't not be hopeful, and that pessimism is, it just can't be an option. They need to think positively. Like, they need to be able to fight for a future. And you need to fight for that with them. And I need to do that with them. If I look at a starving child and I'm like, wala na yan. What? No. Wala nang pag-asa yan. What? No. We can't afford pessimism, is what I'm trying to say. They can't afford pessimism. There's no room. There's no space. Specifically, I'm not talking about pessimism for personal circumstances. I will specifically say pessimism to global and issues that are beyond us. I know that it's hard, but pessimism won't get us anywhere kasi. Like, if I wanted to stay stuck and get worse, then yes. But I realized that my pessimism was selfish. Because pessimism, in a sense, was a way of me protecting my own expectations of the world, where I'm not even going to hope that the world's going to get better. So you just don't do anything and I just stay stuck and nothing ever happens. But that's selfish because, again, people can't afford that. The underprivileged children who don't have an education can't afford that. Literally, they can't afford it. And there's just, it just doesn't make any sense. Um, what a wonderful pill to swallow for all of us. But all I'm trying to say is I understand why pessimism seems like the easier route to take. I don't know. We're just never going to see a bright future through the easy route. If that route was easy, then everybody, like, we live in a utopia. But for some reason, we're not yet there. So maybe pessimism isn't the answer. But if you're in that state of pessimism, I super understand because I came from there as well. Imagine being an insane optimist and then going through a pandemic, and then in the pandemic I was a political science student and then graduating, and then also being a political influencer at the same time, getting bashed. I literally got troll bombed on YouTube. Like, nobody was watching the video, and then overnight I had like 200,000 dislikes. I'm not even exaggerating. If anybody is going to be a pessimist, sign me up. No, I'm just kidding. No, but so all I'm saying is, if you are there, I get it. I get it. One way that I was able to, I guess, get out of that rut was, again, oversharing to people. When I take Grab, I'm one of those girls who talks to the Grab driver. That might be annoying to some people, but I absolutely love it. And they seem to love it as well. I don't know if they're just doing that to get 5 stars from me. But but it works because you see how hard these people work. And you see that, oh, they're real people who have dreams. And then you talk to the guard who is still single and he wants to find a wife. And I'm like, go kuya, you do that. And then you talk to the jeepney driver who's tired, who's experienced that the gas prices have gone up and their jeepneys are being what do you call it? They're, what's the word? Overhauled, right? And then so they're afraid that they're going to lose their business. You realize that all of these people that we tend to overlook are real people with real lives and real families and real dreams. One thing I love about moving to a condo is that I look outside and wow, there's a lot of people in the world. Like, there is a lot of people in the world, and you go down that rabbit hole of thinking, wow, this person's going to home to his family. He's had childhood friends that he doesn't speak to anymore. Like, he has a boss that probably he doesn't like that much, and that boss has a family. And then you realize that all of these people are not just NPCs, but they're people that deserve a better future. And they're people who deserve a better Philippines. And that's something that really worked for me. Besides, obviously, reading all of the books that I dove into, you don't need a book. You just need 5 minutes. I love the idea of falling in love with things that aren't like romantic. Like I love falling in love with people, like friends and strangers and acquaintances, and I don't know, it's just what a beautiful way to live life, that it's not just me, myself and I, but it's like, wow, this guy, like I want to pray for him. I hope he reaches his dreams. Gosh, it's making me cry. Yeah, like oh gosh, like I remember I was talking to this Grab driver. He was telling me that his last daughter finally graduated, and I was like, damn, I'm so happy for you. Like you don't even know. I am so happy for you. Like I don't know if the Grab marketing is working, but it's real. Like when they message, wow, salamat sa pagbook, ma'am, dahil sa'yo. No, but it's for real. And that daughter is the person that we are building a better Philippines for. Like, you want her to graduate and not be able to have a stable income, a fair income, a quality life? No. What if she graduated from business school, and all of the systems on making your own business are like impossible in the Philippines? That's so sad. What if she graduated from med school, and then our hazard pay sucks and they don't even get overtime pay, so she has to move to the States, and then we lose a good nurse, and then we don't have nurses in our public hospitals, and then your mom has to go to that hospital. Like you have to think about these things. These are so deeply personal to these people, and it should be so deeply personal to you. Like we are so much more connected than you think, is what I'm trying to say. Like just look outside, just talk to somebody. um there's this quote from the Hunger Games. Suzanne, you did it again. I think it's Hamish who says it. Remember who the real enemy is. It's so easy because it's to point fingers, but I think remembering or being able to point out the roots of why we got to this place in the first place, which is actually so much more messy than we could ever imagine. Being able to not misplace our anger is super important, because the last thing I want is for neighbor on neighbor to just be brawling it out. Um, and again, I'm not saying like, oh, it's this person's fault. Not necessarily. I would say point out the system, or point out the problem, point out the system, point out the point person of that system, and don't elect them next time. I'm serious. Like, that is the most democratic, patriotic, like even Christian thing that we can do for our country. Not necessarily the most Christian thing, but it is a very Christian thing that we can do for our country, is to vote wisely and to prepare ourselves even now to vote wisely. Gosh, there are so many people who asked me for my list because they didn't have theirs, which, sure, I'll give you my list, I guess. That's fine. But I hope you could also like do a quick social media search. Stay updated on our news. Understand what's happening in the Senate, in the executive branch, even in your local government. Do you know who your counselors are? Do you know what bills they're passing, or like legislation that they're passing? Do you know what's the last bill that was passed? Like these things, they make they make our world go round. I used to say like everything is political. For example, our service provider, whether that's Globe, Smart, whatever that may be, Ditto, um, that is political. Why? Because what if the our president has ties to China, and China's like, oh, I want to monopolize our service provider, and then they remove all of the other providers, and it's only the Chinese one, which is fine. No. What? No, but that is political, is what I'm saying. That is a political decision. The gadgets that we have, that is a political decision, because somebody makes those decisions to allow those products into our homes. It's a political decision which cars we're allowed to ride, what kind of buses we have for public transportation, etc., etc. The income that you have, that raise that you're going to ask from your boss, that's also a political decision. Because what is the minimum wage, right? So when we think that our lives are beyond what happens in the government, that's not actually very true, is it? Social media is political. There are countries where there is no TikTok. So, us having TikTok in the Philippines is a political decision. Everything is political. And we have to understand that. And if you choose to not, everything's like, yeah, yeah, okay, na yan, then okay, fine. You can do whatever you want. I'm not going to force you, but I need you to know. And I need you to make an aware decision from that. That who you vote next round of elections could end up banning TikTok. Deducing, not exactly. Could end up doing something. So get ready for that. That's the best way you can start. Vote wisely. If I've said so much in these last two episodes, and I was happy and then sad and then angry and then I teared up a little and so many emotions. But if there's one thing that I would like, forget everything else, but just remember this, is that focus on changing your corner of the world and to understand the value of your sphere of influence. And it's not going to be a superhero that saves the day. I hope Vico Soto runs for president, but even if he does, he will not be the one. He will not fix the entire Philippines. He will help, but I hope that Janina Vela will help too in her own way, and I hope that you will help too as well on your own way. Your friends and family won't listen to anybody better than they will listen to you. I think more than me and more than Vico Soto. Or the next greatest influencer that you could think of. You're probably more effective than all of us combined in changing minds and sharing your beliefs and in inspiring them. So I hope you don't forget that. Thank you so much for watching the Soul Podcast. This has been Janina Vela. Bye.